So death is the great matter, as Keith likes to say from his Zen tradition. Facing death every moment, arising and passing away. So before we begin today, I have some reading I'd like to share with you from our book that we've been reading together. I'd like to see if there's anything coming up for you with the teachings, if you have any questions or reports. Okay, nothing. Glad to see some of you who I haven't seen in a while. So I've been reading from Pointers from Nisargadatta Maharaj. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, but this book is based on Ramesh's listening to his teacher at the time and recording. So you can just imagine him sitting in there in this little tiny dark, well, yeah, pretty dark and hot room in the wouldn't say the slums of Bombay, but definitely the lower class alleyways. And Ramesh came from this place called Bridge Candy. And what a name, right? It's spelled Breach Candy. Maybe they got the misspelling for the Brock's candy screwed up there, but anyway, they pronounce it Bridge Candy, and that's along the ocean. And Ramesh used to live on the top floor of this nice apartment building. They'd own the whole building, and it was called Sindala. Sindala, I believe, is it's a tiger, and it was on Gamadia Road. And I'm talking about Ramesh now and going to satsang, but we will be reading about from Maharaja's words. But if you can imagine Ramesh being this retired banker, and he used to be the president of the Bank of India. So he didn't have any need for money. He might have been an Enneagram 3 if we're looking at that lens, because he was quite the accomplished person. He even won I think either the Bombay or the All India bodybuilding. This little tiny guy. I don't know. He might have been 5'5", but he won the bodybuilding championship. He was our Arnold Schwarzenegger of Bombay. And yeah, so what was always fascinating to me is this openness and trust, and anyone could show up at that building, and the door people would let them up onto this windy elevator shaft up to the top floor, and outside the door there would be strewn shoes. And it was so funny because you could show up at the satsang and before you went into the house, you knew who was there if you knew their shoes. I'm sure some of you meditators know that feeling. Pre-Crocs, but all sorts of traveling shoes. And then you'd open up the door and there would be the family, his wife of, I don't know how many years, 70 years, and the servants, and they would be in the kitchen area, and you would hear the pressure cooker going, and you always knew what time of satsang it was, because you'd know if there was one whistle or two of the dal that was getting cooked, the lentils for the day. You could hear the psh in the background, and then we would all sit in this big area, the master family area, with the windows facing out to the sea and to sky. And there would be crows all the time, just rah, 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 rah. India, loud, always loud, even in the highest elite places, loud. And then we would all sit there, and the motley crew from all over the world, the Dutch and the Russians and the Israelis and the Americans and the Brits, and then the Indians coming with their nice saris and always looking the best, crispest, having the perfect shirt ironed. And you could tell, if the Indians were I mean, again, not to try to use derogatory language, just explaining how it is. You could tell what class or what region, which culture or yeah, caste really that the Indians might be coming from based on how they dressed and if maybe they, what kind of mustache were they wearing? Alicia has a great joke about the land of the mustache. Yes, she might tell us that at the retreat again. So we would sit there and some would chat and some would be sitting in silence and meditating, waiting for the teacher. And, you know, um, he would come out right at 9. I mean, talk about just organized. Like a Speedy Gonzalez. And he was 90 when I met him, and I never knew if he was going to fall on his face because he would just come shooting. And as he got older, I just really never knew if he was going to keep his balance. And he would just shoot out of his back room up to the front of the room where we were all sitting in his favorite chair. And he would sit down and there would be 2 armchairs in front of him that we called the hot seat. And so 2 people would be escorted willingly or unwillingly or unbeknownst to them of what might happen. That was in my case. And then he would ask them where they were from and what do they do, which is kind of a funny question. And then he would say, what brings you here? What exactly are you seeking? And then that would start the whole thing. And he always had a combination of dialogue, of being a pretty good listener, but also not afraid to interrupt. The person would go off on some tear about their whole machinations of where they've been and what they've done. And then he would say, I see. Well, let me tell you what I talk about. Let me tell you what I talk about. Enough of that. And then he would basically repeat the same teachings again and again and again, variations on a theme. I heard that in the, he might have started teaching in the late 80s, I believe, publicly. But in the years, the tonality of what he was teaching changed often, like many times in the beginning. And this was like back when Leonard Cohen, did you know that he dropped on his doorstep in suffering and severe suicidality and depression? Back in the day, in the he would talk a lot about the noumenon and the phenomenon. So, he was coming out of this time with Maharaj, where we'll read a little bit. It's really about how is this whole thing actualizing? How is this how are the phenomena arising in consciousness? And who cares, really? So he would talk a lot about noumenon, the plenum, and phenomenon. And it was quite whew. And then as the popularity grew over the years, I think it's interesting because he then developed this teaching of the non-doership more and more and more, and that daily living and this peace and harmony and daily living. And I wouldn't say dumbing it down, but being a practical. He always said, I've been a banker for 50 years. I'm a practical man. How is this going to help you as an ego, as an individual living on this planet? So he started to get a little bit more down to earth, but he never changed the forcefulness and the purity of the teaching. And that was one of the things that was very important to me when I first started going to Ramesh. I guess I'm telling a little bit of a story this morning. And most all of you know that I was not interested in the guru thing at all. I had an allergy to the whole thing, and I never thought that there would ever be a teacher that I could, quote, surrender to in some way, shape, or form, or that would even be that could meet me, the capacity of all that I was in my various forms and permutations of expression, and not be some sort of cray-cray tantric sex situation, Osho-y, or put me in an ashram and make me live in a cell and do seva, karma yoga, and, you know, all that. I wasn't interested. And as you all know, what did I really want, which was the end of suffering? That's all that was left. And I believe that for some of us, most of us that get to the point where we're able to receive the teachings, we're done. We're done with all of that whack-a-mole trying to fix it and to change it and to become better people. You know, we've done a lot of that and we're tired, to say the least. Some of us come downright wretched, and that's the way I like you. Give me your wretched. So, so again, this guru thing, I want to say, as you all know by now, that the guru is obviously a person, has flaws, and is a spokesperson, is pretty much the embodiment of the teaching, if it happens. And in some cases in India, we would obviously we would bow down to the feet of the guru and hold on to the feet. Why? Why the feet? Well, this is such a beautiful thing, and it's a new moon in Pisces, and that's cool and groovy with the symbolism of it all. So the Pisces rules the feet, and it's quote unquote the lowest part of the body, and especially in India, you usually don't face your feet toward the teacher in some traditions. Who cares? But if you realize what that is, it's, you know, the feet are considered low, but they are also considered holy, especially when we are honoring the teacher or an elder. In India, we would bow and touch the feet of an elder. So you've heard me say in this satsang before, when we are riding the dragon of whatever is arising in the life, and we understand that we have zero control and we are being whipped around by life, and there's nowhere to go. We know there's nowhere to go, and there's nowhere to turn, and there's no longer anything left to do. We hold on to the feet of God. Hold on to the feet of God. Prostrate toward consciousness as consciousness. So it was a blessing for me to kneel before Ramesh and place my forehead on his feet and hold on to his feet. Well, I put makeup on today, so we'll try not to cry too much. The last thing I'll say about that time in India and having a teacher like that is that, and I feel this way for some of you, especially the sixes in the group, the testers and the checkers, of which I am one of them. I think that it's very good to test and check your teacher if you need it. It's okay. Test and check the teachings, right? They always say in the Buddhism, find out, check for yourself. So I would never ask anyone to receive these teachings or me as a loudspeaker spokesperson, spokesmodel for Advaita. My sense is that over the time that we know each other, that you get to check. So one of the things that Keith said when we first met, and 3 to 6 months in, he said, you can't poke a hole in it. What I'm saying, you can't poke a hole in it. He was looking. I don't think he was just smitten. Might have been. But he was definitely looking for where I was making stuff up. So if part of the teaching is that everything that I say is a lie, I pretty much cover my own ass. Okay. Okay, I'll just finish this up that, with the receiving of the jnana, the wisdom, the intellectual understanding, that became extreme. I mean, I'm feeling my crown chakra right now. It's pretty hot. With the full understanding, which meant that the only thing left to do was to live my life as a separate entity. It was really surprising and funny, and the joke was truly on me when I had this bhakti explosion, this love for the teacher. It was goofy. It was, a year and 9 months in of being with Ramesh on and off in satsang, and I went back to the US, which I thought was going to be there for a while. I was going to house sit and do my taxes, and I came home, and it was going to be Ramesh's birthday on May 25th. And I turned around, and I was in Russian Hill in San Francisco, and I could not bear to be away. And I definitely had no need to be in San Francisco, no matter how luxurious the situation. And I think I was there for 2 or 3 weeks, and I turned around and went right back. And and I had these dreams too. This was interesting. Story, but interesting. I was just like flooded with this awareness. And I went back and landed there on the morning of, or the day before his birthday. And the most important thing that I want to convey about that is that all of the teachings went into the heart. And I was sobbing with gratitude and relief. And I've seen that with some of you. And it's not personal. It might be in the form of that person delivering it, but it's really the gratitude for the teachings coming into the life. And I feel like that bhakti, which also brought with it a lot of other phenomena, which occur in many cases, sometimes kundalini, sometimes massive changes in the life. But it doesn't matter. That's not the thing that we're looking for here. But sometimes that quickening is this falling away of the structures, and it depends on the individual as to what that falling away of the structures looks like. It could be hell. It could be maddening. That could be heat. Could be a lot of things, but that's why we hold on to the feet. Because I knew, and it got really weird. Maybe if you come to the retreat, I'll tell you some real weird stories. But during those times, it was like, I guess this is what's going to happen. Yep, even that. It can get real weird. So whatever weird, and that's actually a word that comes from, I believe, Celtic world, which is really about wildness. It's not mad or crazy. Weird is magical. whatever weirdness is going on for us individually is perfect. Thank you for listening to all of that.